John and I have returned tonight to do segment 12 of How Can You Say That? And our topic tonight is the pros and cons of working remotely. And since it was a way of life during the pandemic, and some companies continue to practice this professional lifestyle, John and I thought it would be a great topic for us to discuss. And so tonight's the night we're doing it. John, oh, sorry, not John. Ramthathan, always right.
Wait a second.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Are you implying that this was my topic choice, that we thought this would be a great topic to discuss?
Well, whoever
This was your idea. This
Okay.
was your. See, you're talking about the pros and the cons of remote working, right? I don't see any pros. I see all cons. In fact, I see remote working as an actual con job that's being perpetuated on the American population by the liberal left, if you don't mind me getting right into that. And the reason why is because you know what? Should I hold back a little? I want to say something first before we get into that. Because I want to just jump right in.
You holding back is an oxymoron. So just go, because
No,
you will say you're holding back.
I am holding back.
Eventually it will come.
Oh, it'll pour out like diarrhea, not even a question. But we're not going to start that. We want to start off a little bit calmer and nice. So what I want to mention before we actually jump into the topic and really get violent with this is I wanted to, again, and I feel like I've done this on many podcasts, I wanted to apologize to you. I find myself doing a lot of that. From the last podcast that we did, when I got home and my family was listening to this, my wife was furious at me. Absolutely furious. And I saw her face. She was getting angrier and angrier as the podcast was going on. And I'm listening to it. I'm going, I think this is really funny. I don't know what she's so pissed off about. And it turns out at the end of the podcast, she unloaded on me. And the reason why she unloaded on me is because she was so mad at how I treated you on that podcast. She just thought I was so nasty and disrespectful. And she's like, you know what? It reminded me of how you treat me sometimes.
I was gonna say, the poor thing, she's probably thinking, I married a monster because he doesn't only do this to me, here he is doing it to this woman.
Exactly.
Who is just his podcast partner. And I feel bad for you, Karen. Trust me, I have some stuff coming for you. It's going to just amplify and solidify the fact that you're an angel, that you put up with this human.
All right, enough about Karen. Okay, let's talk about me for a second. So the thing is,
always about you, right?
The thing is,
I made a mistake.
Okay, fine. We'll go back to Karen for a second. I have to talk very nicely and calmly on this podcast. The reason why she was recently diagnosed with very, very high blood pressure. So we try around the house to remain calm and to talk very slowly and quietly, just to not have her pressure spike, because we don't need her, God forbid, having a stroke. Now, being married to me is enough to give someone a stroke.
I was going to say, but
I know what you were going to say. I saw the look at, see, you get me all riled up already. Now you're going to drive her blood pressure through the roof. Can we just stay calm? Just relax and let's talk in soothing voices, okay? And let's move on. What?
You said let's move on.
Okay.
I'm giving you the platform.
Yeah, let's get into this shit. I mean, this topic. Oh, actually, I had a really rough week, by the way. I just want to talk about one other thing. I had there's a lot of drama in my life. I don't cause the drama, but I seem to be around drama. There's a lot of external drama. So innocently enough,
in other words, you're a drama magnet.
Yeah, but I don't even like I hate drama. I don't want this drama.
But you seem to have it always, you come in your way.
So you know how you said drama magnet? I'm going to turn the magnet the other way, because when you turn the magnet the opposite way, it pushes away. You knew that, right? If you take two magnets, you stick them together, but if you turn one the other way, they push away from each other.
I've watched you while you're in the middle of it. You seem to enjoy it.
I don't. I hate it. It's so distracting.
You're like the director of the drama traffic. Oh,
no.
Yeah, you should do this. You should go.
No, but I don't want to be. Drama distracts me off of my course of action. I wake up every morning. I have things I need to accomplish. I have a mission, and I don't like to be knocked off track from the things that I want to do. That's why I don't have time for getting sick. I don't have time for problems. I just want to do my thing and get my day done the way I want to do it without all this outside noise. But anyway, okay. So let me tell you about what happened this week. Okay. So we're doing some work in the house and we're up to like having some wallpaper put up. My wife spent like I don't know, $1,100 on this wallpaper, one single wall. It's ridiculous. It's beautiful, but it's total waste of money. So we have this wallpaper guy who's great, who we've used a bunch of times. And so he asked me, he's like, do you have a ladder? He looks at my ladder. He says, yeah, use this. He goes, oh, great. I don't have to bring my ladder. I'll use your ladder. Whole conversation about the ladder. The ladder, by the way, is called the Little Giant Ladder, which is an amazing ladder. It could be bent into all these different forms, an A-frame, tall. You could adjust the height. So it replaces like 15 different ladders. This one ladder replaces everything. Little Giant. You could buy it in Home Depot. Anyway, so he gets on this ladder. He's doing the wallpaper. All of a sudden, I'm at work and I start getting these texts from Karen. Oh my God, all in capital letters. He fell. Oh my God, he's on the floor. Oh no, the ladder's on top of him. Uh-oh, I think he's really hurt. Oh no, what do I do? So I'm looking at this as I'm on the phone with a client. I'm going, oh, this is not good. Of course, all I'm hearing is liability. So I that's the Jew in me. I hear liability and I'm like, oh my God. So the first thing I did, this is why she gets mad at me also, because she said, she says to me all the time, you're not a nice person. Why am I not a nice person? Because I did what I always do. When someone calls me and my family, if they had a car accident, she's like, the first thing you ask is, are you okay? Instead, she's like, you always ask, what happened to the car? So this time when I finally was off the phone, I called her. I'm like, Karen, is the ladder okay or is the ladder broken? How did he fall? She's like, how about asking how he is? I'm like, we'll get to that. I love this ladder. This ladder is amazing. Did he break the ladder? She goes, actually, he did. I'm like, fuck. I was so mad that the ladder was broken. It superseded the fact that the guy tumbled from 9 feet up on an A-frame ladder and fell directly onto a hardwood floor. Anyway, long story short, he's fine. But these are the kind of things that happen to me during the day. Every time I look at my phone during the day and I see someone calling, I'm like, uh-oh. This is going to be something that's going to knock me off track and occupy time. This is very, very annoying. How was your week?
I cannot believe the story you just told me. Are you embellishing to amuse us? Did you
Do you want to
really
see the text?
No, wait. Did you really ask about the ladder before did you realize that if this was a litigious person, you would have a lawsuit coming your way?
There's a lot of things I realized, but I also love that ladder. I have the ladder for 5 years. That ladder is like,
John,
do you know how men are with tools? Do you understand how men are with
Okay,
tools?
is that the one and only ladder of its kind on
I threw out all my other ladders. I got rid of them because this replaced all of them.
The place where you got it, don't they sell other ladders like it?
I don't have to spend $200 and replace it. This is a perfectly good ladder.
You give a rat's ass if this man got injured. All you care about is your ladder.
I didn't say I don't care. I said it was secondary to the ladder, which, by the way, I'm working with the company to try to replace, but they'll probably replace it for free anyway.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
what's the difference how your week was? Let's get into the topic. Remote work. So we were talking about, it's funny because when I think of a topic, I'm like, okay, I'm on my own, you're on your own, let's do our work. When you think of a topic, all of a sudden I'm handed this book of notes, like study material.
You know what?
To prepare.
Try to be kind again.
Why don't you trust me that I could do well without your notes?
John, ingratitude nauseates me. You should have told me.
Ingratitude is not a word. You mean being ingracious? Is that what you're trying to say?
John, teach me words.
You create your own words.
I do.
You create your own vocabulary.
I do.
Yeah, we have some interesting stuff to talk about.
That I use, I've created.
Blah, 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 blah. Remote work.
If I give you notes, say, I don't want your notes. I was trying to help you because you told me you didn't know anything. You didn't have enough information for this topic.
No, I have plenty of information. It's all negative. So we're trying to look at some positive side so I can be a little bit of a battlefield.
Why don't you tell us about your negative and I'll try to bring... I can say one thing.
Well, you're good at bringing in positivity. That is true. Go ahead. You want to say one thing? Go ahead.
That remote working has cost Manhattan $12.4 billion per year. And I thought that we could start from there because you live in New York.
That's talking about more New York City than it is New York.
Yeah, well, New York City, but it's a part of New York, right? Versus San Francisco, which is in California. And so that you said you want to talk about the pros. So, I mean, the cons. Wait. Which one did you want to talk about? The cons?
Are you drunk?
I'm not.
By the way, these studio pretzels, rolled gold pretzels, phenomenal. Delicious pretzels. Listen, you're obviously having some sort of intoxication issue. Let me take it from here. Okay,
Can
so
somebody become intoxicated without alcohol and
yes, I have that effect on
you
people.
cannot intoxicate me if that's what you're implying.
Women tend to get intoxicated
Not
around me
just women.
without
In fact,
without alcohol. It's my aura that intoxicates people.
it nauseates me. Sorry, John. I don't mean to be unkind, but I'm not one who is
Well, that was pretty unkind.
intoxicated. What do you want me to tell you? What you want to hear or the truth?
I prefer what I want to hear. I don't need the truth.
Well, I don't. But
If the truth is going to bruise my fragile ego, are we going to talk about this topic, or is this going to be you abusing me the whole podcast? Okay, now we're going into the topic right now. We're talking about remote work pros and cons, and I want to start off by saying that I believe remote work is all, like I said, a con job. It's being perpetuated by the liberal left on corporate America. And what they do is they always try to change, what the liberal left always does, they try to change the fabric of the way society operates. And they always try to do that in a way that's negative towards business, towards corporations, towards the people that actually pay taxes. They usually demonize the wealthy. It's a very interesting dynamic that they create to make certain things look really bad and other things for the benefit of others. And when you're looking at remote work, this is what I see. I see people that don't want to get dressed in the morning and go anywhere. They don't want to commute. They don't want to go to an office. They'd rather sit in pajamas all day in their own home and have as much free time as possible on their hands so that they can do their household chores and play with their children and their pets and do all these kind of things and not actually have to spend the time working. Now, it's not to say they're not actually working, but when you're in an office, you're accountable. You're sitting in a cubicle, you're sitting in an office, you have a boss that walks around, you have coworkers. You can't sit in an office doing your laundry. You can't sit in an office going and showering. You can't sit, even when you're taking a break, a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, you tell your coworkers, listen, I'll be back, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm going to get coffee, whatever it is. There's accountability. When you're working from home, you're removing all accountability from the workplace, which is something the liberal left loves because they hate corporate America.
Well, John, I hate to interrupt you and disagree with you because I, during COVID, had many friends who their companies benefited a lot more from having them working at home than when they had to go to the office.
Oh, they benefited from a lack of productivity?
No, they were very productive. In fact, they produced twice as much.
Impossible.
Listen to me.
What metric are you using to measure this?
Talk to you when you were making your point.
You wanted
Would
to.
you be gracious enough to let me make mine, please?
The new me will be gracious. Yes, go ahead.
The time you have to wake up and get dressed to put yourself together to look presentable to be in an office, for some people, that's an hour and one of those. And then
I look amazing the minute I wake up.
Of
I don't have to
course.
get
Well,
ready.
not everyone is as blessed as you. You have such an amazing imagination. It takes you in some very unrealistic places, but it's not your fault.
It's not.
Anyway, so you have to wake up, you have to get dressed and put yourself together. You have to get into the car. You have to commute sometimes 45 minutes to an hour. You have to deal with people wanting to do road rage with you. People riding your back, accidents. You get to work all stressed out. And this is 3 hours of the morning eaten up versus if you're working from home, some people, I watched them, got up and got their coffee, and then they were at the computer.
Stop for 1 second.
Can I? But no, I'm not
finished. No, we have to take your argument piece by piece and dissect it. So I understand your case. We're going to continue, but we're going to stop and pause for a second because we're going to say how everything.
You're such a bully. But keep going.
A bully?
You are.
I resent that.
But you are.
In what way?
Because you like to run the show. You like to be in charge. You like to decide who's right and who's wrong. And John. Your name, ranted and always right,
yes,
is a well-earned.
So why would you
name.
bother to argue with someone that's always right?
Because sometimes, if it's not just you and I.
All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna let me go on here. So let me say why. Let me say why your argument that you just gave is completely incorrect and built on faulty logic. Now, you and I have argued many times. We argue virtually every day. Every time we talk, it degrades into an argument. Am I right?
Yeah, that's why you like to do this, because you like to argue and fight. And
Well,
you,
I do.
you said you don't like drama. I cannot have a peaceful conversation with you.
Okay, so that
which you don't turn into something.
so you're agreeing with me, right? Exactly. So we fight and argue all the time, and every conversation degrades into an
And
argument.
you know why?
So
Because I don't see things your way.
right, and that's a problem for you. So now let's go back and let understand your faulty argument. Okay, so your whole case that you just built is built on faulty logic, and let me explain to you why. It's all a crock of nonsense. And the reason why is because everything you just said, you don't have to spend time doing this, you have to spend time doing that, you don't have to spend time doing that, doesn't matter, because either way, your job is starting at, let's say, 9 o'clock. So it doesn't matter if I did all these things and had nonsense beforehand and got to work at 9 o'clock, or if I rolled out of bed, brushed my teeth, and sat at my computer, it's 9 o'clock. Either way, I'm signing on at 9 o'clock for my job. So none of what you said, all that time saving. Oh, wait. So let me tell you the only way you'd be right. The only way you'd be right is if, in one instance, if I had to go to the office, I started at 9, but if I'm working from home, I started at 8. And that extra hour of stuff I would be getting ready was spent doing work. Nobody does that. No, that's not true.
Listen to me. It is true.
No, it's not.
I came from California, where a lot of the people that I know who worked at Google and Apple, this is what
They started
do.
working earlier?
They started working at 8.
Okay, well, then I'm wrong.
By the time you got to the office, they had accomplished 1 hour's
If
work.
that's-
And listen, they didn't stop at 6 o'clock.
Okay, so if that part is actually true, I don't know. I don't know the metrics. I didn't do the study. I didn't even prepare for this podcast. Okay, so I don't know anything.
So then don't argue and refute everything.
I like to argue, and I will continue to argue. Even if I'm wrong, I will argue my perspective anyway. But if what you're saying in that regard is correct and they had an extra hour, that's fine. But even if that was the case, I would argue with you that they lose that extra hour of productivity over the course of the day when they're distracted by things that they're doing in their house that they wouldn't have the time to be distracted from if they're in an office. Now, I'll give you an example.
In an office, you stop and chat with your coworkers. You go.
I hate my coworkers.
Listen,
most of them.
Well,
some of that I like.
You are unique in that way. You know, you hate and you like to argue and you're full of rage and you're always.
You make me sound like a lunatic.
No, these are qualities that you possess, and you're not ashamed to admit that they are qualities of yours. But there are other people who look at who don't hate their coworkers, who like to talk about their kids.
Okay, I misspoke. I like some of my coworkers.
He's getting worried, people, in case one of them is listening to this podcast.
I'm petrified, actually.
Yeah, I may have to edit that out.
I went to dinner the other night with one of my coworkers who I happen to really like. So yeah, I mean, there's some coworkers that I like. There's some coworkers I like a lot, and then there's others that I would like try to want to run away from. Anyway, let's get back to you see, you skew off topic all the time. That's the problem with you. You don't know how to focus. Can we focus, please? So now we're talking about, so you talked about the morning ritual in terms of commuting and all that stuff. And I understand that. And like I said, I'm going to give you the victory on that part of your argument that if they're actually starting work an hour earlier, then you're right. That would be considered more productive. Now, again, my counter argument to that was what I had said, but let's talk about during the day. Here's the way where I would be comfortable saying remote work is equally as effective as office work. You ready?
I'm listening.
Okay. Every employer has the right to install a camera in the residence of the person at their office workspace where they're working. Now, of course, everyone would go crazy. Violation of privacy. I'm arguing that if you're on the clock at your employer, that you're not entitled to privacy unless it's part of your break, your lunch, or whatever the time you would have, you're going to the bathroom, the privacy that you would have at an office. Your employer should be able to pop into that camera anytime they want and see what you're doing, just like they would if they walked by your cubicle at work or your office. Is that completely nuts?
Would you want some employers sticking a camera in your house?
It's no different than them walking by my office when I'm sitting there working. What's the difference?
No, it's a big difference.
Not in my house, in my workspace, pointed at my computer at my workspace, just like they would at any time be able to pop by my office and look in and see what I'm doing. Why is that so outrageous? I know on the surface of it sounds crazy, but think about it, it's really not.
So here's the thing, John. What I'm hearing you say is your boss should not trust you that you are working for. He needs to put a camera and watch you 24/7 because he's hired someone that is not reliable, that is not honorable, and that lacks
Let me explain something to you.
integrity.
Let me explain something.
Okay.
Most people.
Companies during COVID, right? Nobody had time
What's
to
COVID? What does that even mean? What's COVID?
the pandemic.
What pandemic?
They had no time to install cameras in people's workplaces. We're all aware that this happened. Like, bam, bam,
Oh,
bam.
really? You can't just put a camera on. Your computer comes with a camera. It's right here. You just turn it on. What's the problem?
John, if you had a company, I would never work for you.
You do work for me. You're employed at the podcast by me. What do you mean?
You could not afford to pay me if you worked every day, every minute of every hour for the rest of your life. So get over it. But
I'm over it.
what I'm saying is there are many pros and cons to both. And I think during the pandemic, nobody had a choice. Everyone had to stay at home, right?
Bullshit. I came into work every day. Every day I was at the office. The company didn't have a rule that you can't come. They said, if you want to work from home, work from home. If you want to come to the office, come to the office. There were 5 people that came to the office every day. I was one of them. And you know what? I realized how much I don't need my coworkers there, actually. And I had a blast being by myself. And when the coworkers came back, I was mad. I was like, these people are invading my space. What's going on here? And my sales assistant said to me, just wait, you think this whole office is yours? I go, well, during the quote unquote pandemic, it was mine. Yeah, it was great. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because sometimes you say things and I listen to you and I think, I'm glad I don't work with you. I'm glad I don't work near you.
You're at a studio working with me right now.
Yeah, for 1 hour. Thank God it's not more.
Actually, it's less. You timed this. It's about 45 minutes.
Fighting the whole time.
We fight the whole time now and we barely even see each other. Okay, so let's get back to the topic. Because again, you keep trying to take me off topic.
So can I give some of the pros of working from home?
Sure.
Number one, you save time. You don't have to you save gas.
You did that already, yeah.
You save gas.
Right. Well, some people take the train.
The company doesn't have to pay for the office and all the overhead that goes with having the employee in the office every day.
They do, assuming it's black and white. Either they're all remote or all office, then you're right. But if they're partial remote and partial office, they're still paying for the same office space.
Well, so many companies that I know of, and I speak from experience in San Francisco, where they let their lease go.
Name one.
I'm not going to name any. Why do I need to name one?
I want you to back up your argument with facts.
And what you're going to do? Call them up and check to see if
I will verify. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to verify.
Ask you why.
This is one hair sticking out of me like a unicorn that's going to poke me. What is that?
Yes. But I need to ask you why. You can't take my word for it.
All right, fine. I'll take your word for it. Go ahead.
If you don't believe me, this is true of many companies, not just the company.
They fully went remote and closed down all their offices?
Yeah, because they closed down all of their offices. Nobody went to the office. The employees were instructed to stay at home.
There are some. Yeah, there are some that did that.
Their productivity went up.
Yeah, again, I don't know what metric you're going by when you say that, so I can't just accept that at face value.
This with the podcast.
If it's a company,
just let John take the lead, and I will agree with everything John said. So, John, go for the cons, and I will sit in this little corner and agree with you. Please go.
You know what happened this week? This was something so uncomfortable. Can I share this with you? So, you ever hear really see a grown man, an adult, like a 50-year-old man, crying? And you ever see that and how uncomfortable that is?
I've seen you do that.
You've seen me do that?
50 years, yeah.
When did I cry in front of you?
In the office one day when you came here to do the podcast.
What was I crying about?
Something that your wife said to you that you weren't happy.
Yeah, okay. Okay, now I know you're full of crap because I don't cry about anything like that. So this is when there have been 2 instances.
John, you didn't let me finish the list of my pros.
Because there are no pros. It's all nonsense. Can I something?
Remote work improves employee loyalty. Remote work is good for the environment. You can practically work from anywhere. Employees were moving to different countries and setting up their offices there and living a great and happy life. They were happier. The companies were getting more out of them. And most companies do not pay anything for their remote employees.
Is this like a Disney fairy tale that you're telling?
No, I did my
Everyone is so happy. Everyone is giddy. Everyone is so productive. The companies are doing better. If that was the case, how come remote work never happened before?
Makes employees happier.
Yes, because they don't have to go to work. Of course it does. Wouldn't you?
But listen, if you have a job to do, right? And I get that job done in a timely manner, perfectly, and you get exactly what is required of me.
Yes.
Why is it a problem if I do it from Timbuktu or an office?
No, what you're actually saying is if I did the work I'm supposed to do, then the rest of the day, like I could just do my stuff because I'm home. What's the big deal? So that's kind of the same thing. If I'm in an office and I finish what I need to do for the day and it's 12 o'clock and I'm supposed to leave at 5, can I just go home?
You should be.
No, but you can't. You're on a clock, 9 to 5. There's a normal work day. Let's say a normal work day. Okay. So if I finish my work by 1, can I just tell my boss, yeah, I'm done for the day. Can I just leave now? He'd be like, what are you talking about? We're here till 5. You'll end up doing something else. So when you're home and you quote unquote finish what you have to do for the day, you have no accountability at that point. You're just like, yeah, okay, now I'm gonna go do the laundry.
No,
I'll go for a bike ride. And you know what? My boss won't even know because I have a cell phone with me. Anytime he calls me, I'll just be able to answer it. So like you can't. That's the other thing between the phone and the laptop, which you can take anywhere you want. Nobody will know where you are. You could be sitting at a motel with a prostitute, or I don't know what people do, or people drink at home. They're alcoholics, and this gives them the ability to drink at home with no accountability. That's the problem. If you're not in a location, you are not physically accountable to that supervisor or that boss or that company. They don't know what the hell you're doing.
But remote workers work longer hours than when they go to an office. And they have statistics.
They work longer hours, but who knows what the hell they're doing during the day?
They're working.
Says who? You have a camera in everybody's house? How do you know? Oh, okay, I'll give you an example. I worked remotely. I tried working remotely. At the 2 years during the pandemic when no one was coming to the office and I was one of the 5, there were a few days where the office had to be cleaned, okay? And when it was cleaned, they closed it because of chemicals, whatever, so I worked those days from home. Here's how my day started. I roll out of bed. It's 8:30 in the morning. I brush my teeth. I put on a pair of sweatpants. I go downstairs. I start making some breakfast. And what I find myself doing is being reactive, not proactive. If the phone rings, I answer it. I'm not really making many outgoing calls. All of a sudden, I'm like looking at a wall. I'm looking at a wall going, oh, that really needs to be painted. Oh, I don't like the color. And I find myself in the car going to Lowe's to buy paint during the day. Then I said, oh, you know what? I got to go to the ATM. Let me go to the cash machine. Let me do that. Oh, you know what? I got to stop off at the post office. I need some stamps. Oh, you know what? I'm kind of hungry. Let me go get some lunch. Let me go to the pizza shop. Before you know it, I turn around, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and all I did was answer my phone when it rang. I did nothing proactive. I was only reactive, which is not how my day is actually supposed to be. Yes, did I handle things that came up? Yes. But did I proactively do anything constructive? No, not really, because I was completely distracted by everything around me and the ability to get in my car and do whatever I want because no one's watching and no one's saying anything to me about what I'm doing. Do you understand that? Let's say during the day I decide I'm going to come to the studio. I'm going to do a podcast. How would my boss even know? So it's not good for corporate America when your employees are not accountable for their time that they're being paid for. It's not like you're punching out during the day going, oh, I'm stopping at 1. I'll be back at 3. I'm punching out. You're being paid for a certain period of time, and you're expected to work for that period of time. But again, going back to what the liberal left wants, they want to change the fabric of America, and they don't want people going into offices. They don't want people.
I don't know what liberal left you're speaking about, but I know that the mayor of New York has been encouraging companies to open back up and get their employees to come back.
Not because he wants them to, because the city's getting destroyed and losing revenue over it. That's what he's starting to look at now.
Yes, Rantitin, right. You are so right. Now keep going with your arguments. I'm listening.
Oh, you got me off topic. I was talking about a grown adult crying. You totally distracted me. So I get a call. This happened actually a couple of years ago, but happened again recently, which made me think of it. Pets, people and their pets. You ever have a pet?
Yes.
Pets are so annoying. What kind of pet did you have? Why are you looking at me like that? What kind of pet did you have? A cat? A dog? What? Okay, you never had a pet. You're not the pet type. No, you're too selfish to have a pet. So,
should I answer that?
No.
Okay.
But I'll hit on it in more detail after if you want. So a few years ago, my neighbor calls me up, hysterical crying. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Somebody must have died, whatever. The guy could barely talk. Turns out his dog died. And this dog dying was like a whole thing. a whole catastrophe, like a family member died. It was a disaster.
Well, for some people, a dog is like their kid.
Well, okay, so I did what any rational person would do. I gave my wife the phone. I'm like, here, you handle this. I can't listen to this baby crying. Anyway, so what reminded me of it is this week, my cousin had a dog that died also. Calls up, I'm in Costco. Now, by the way, I mentioned it, I love Costco. I don't want anybody destroying my Costco shopping experience. When I'm in that store, I want to give my full attention to everything in that store as I go up and down the aisles like I'm autistic, okay? I get a call, hysterical crying, a baby. What happened? His dog died. Same thing. Karen, you take this, because my wife is a cat person. She understands pets, and I don't have any like understanding or compassion for stuff like that, which of course is something you would have said anyway, so I'm saying it for you. So, but the uncomfortableness of listening to grown men bawling, not over a child or a family member or a spouse or a parent, over a dog. Is there something wrong with me that I just can't relate to that?
Because you are incapable of having any type of empathy or sympathy for people that don't have the same exact likes, dislikes, or philosophy. If you don't understand anything outside of what you believe.
Right.
And I've watched you over the time I've known you, just think everything outside of your little bubble that doesn't resonate with you is bunkers.
See, this is why my wife Karen tells me all the time. This is her favorite quote. That's why people don't like you.
I tend to agree with Karen. She's married to you and has known you way longer than I. And if she says that, I believe it.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to figure it out. Maybe you just explained it and summed it up in a relatively quick paragraph. That was good.
You know, what you need to do, John, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but this is how I live my life. I embrace everybody's beliefs. It may sound like something that I can't comprehend or I can't visualize in my head, doesn't resonate at all. But for me, this is someone that I know and respect, and they believe this. So even though I don't believe it, I am happy for them that this is what they believe. This is their life. This is their reality.
Well, that's weird.
But no, because I am not God and I don't know everything. And what I've chosen to believe in, what I've chosen to participate in, the dances I choose to dance are not necessarily the dance or the truth. It's my truth. And I think you need to start giving some respect to people in that way. You live in this bubble of the way you do things, your politics, your religion, and the things that resonate with you, and everything else you bash it and call it stupid. Because you've said it to me before.
I didn't realize I came to the studio to be lectured.
No, I'm not lecturing you. I'm making an observation that I think you should be more conscious of.
Well, I told you I'm going to be nicer today.
I've been a journalist now for 12 years, and I've spoken to people around the world. I spoke with an archbishop, Supreme Court judges, leaders all over the place.
What exactly is an archbishop anyway?
He's like one of the high priestess of the Catholic Church. But what I'm trying to say,
I thought that's a what's under a priest? The ones that choose the priests.
That's the,
what are they called? Cardinals.
Okay.
So what's an archbishop versus a cardinal?
Let's ask Siri.
No. I just want to. Oh, so you don't know? Okay, you don't know. Okay.
But he's high up in the Catholic.
Well, how do you know he's high up if you don't even know what his position is?
Well, I know that you can kind of figure out the hierarchy of the church.
The hierarchy?
Yeah, well, he's the hierarchy.
Right.
So,
but the Pope is the top. The cardinals are underneath.
And then you have the priests, and you have the nuns, and whatever. But
you didn't mention archbishop. Where does that fit in?
Okay, John, we can ask Siri, so she will give us the correct order of things. But the point I was making is, I've interviewed people that are Jewish, I've interviewed people who are Muslim, and you know what?
I'm the only Jew you interviewed.
I respect what everyone believes, because I believe personally that all of these are pathways to God. Unless it's some kind of a cult, I think they're all pathways to God. And I really commend the people who've chosen to believe in something that is for good.
Yeah, but
And so
but
just
if it's wrong, if they're believing in the wrong thing, is it really good?
I had a conversation with you.
I think the studio has mold. I get itchy every time I come here. You just scratching yourself also. What's with you? Why?
You know what is with me.
I do. I think it's the mold. It's awful. I'm like itching all over. Are you itchy? I see you scratching yourself also. We got to close this place down, find a new studio. You know, I want to mention one other thing also. You know,
But sorry, did you agree with what I said? That you don't leave room for other people's beliefs? And
yes, absolutely.
sometimes,
I do.
and okay, I'll let you
No, I
continue.
agree with you.
I don't want you to lose your point. Hold it.
It's already gone.
But one of the things I wonder sometimes is how do you call me a friend? Because I don't share your beliefs in any way. I don't knock it. I don't disagree with
I
it.
said I call you a friend. Where do you come up with that?
Okay, then you could move on to the next point.
Okay, good. So, you know, one of the things I want to I try, you know what I try to do? I try to always incorporate something of value in our podcasts. And I know a lot of times it involves something Jewish or whatever. Maybe that's annoying to people. Maybe I'm breeding anti-Semitism. But I want to mention something. You know, during a meal, when Jewish people get together for a meal, like religious Jews, they're always supposed to discuss something from the Bible. It's like talk about something about Torah. It's supposed to like make the whole meal like holy, right? Not just like, you know, people that are just eating for the sake of eating and to nourish themselves or whatever. It's supposed to be a bigger purpose to a meal and eating. And so you're always supposed to mention something about God and something about the Bible or whatever it is. So I kind of look at the podcast the same way. I always want to throw something in there that maybe is a little spiritual, because I think that means that the podcast has some added value. So we were talking today before we started arguing, like the first minute or so before we started arguing, there was actually some substance that we were talking about. And I was sharing with you something that my daughter was taking a course in her school in Israel. And we're talking about Bible code. And this is good because we're talking about remote work. And when people are screwing around and not working when they're supposed to be working, if they want to like waste some time but have it be productive, you can go online and look up the Bible code. The Bible code, and there's books written about this, and there is commentaries about this. And what it is they actually take the actual script from the Old Testament from the Bible, and they look at they analyze. Actually, it's done through a lot of computer-based modeling and stuff like that. Now it's gotten very sophisticated, and they look at certain pages, and they look at the code that's written there, meaning the words, the Hebrew words and the Hebrew letters, and what they actually mean and translate to. And what they do is they found that in certain paragraphs we'll have all kinds of things that are tied together from specific events that occurred. Now, remember, the Bible was written thousands and thousands of years ago. There'd be no way that the Bible would actually be able to predict something that would happen 5,000 years later. But I showed you a couple of written examples that my daughter sent me. And I just want to share this with you, and then then we'll move on back to our main topic. But when you look, for example, there was a paragraph in the Bible talking about September 11th, and within 5 or 6 sentences within the same paragraph, the word twin, the word towers, the date September 11th, the word murdered, and the word Ishmael. Ishmael is like the founder of like the Muslims and the Arabs. It was one of Jacob, I believe, one of Jacob's sons. One was Jacob. I don't know. Maybe it was Isaac's sons. One was Jacob and one was Ishmael, I believe. Ishmael, all the Muslims and the Arabs came from him, and all the Jews came from the other one. So we're all cousins, but obviously we don't get along. So those were all mentioned in the same paragraph together. Now you have another paragraph here talking about talking about a tsunami, and it's talking about the date, which is on the Jewish calendar ThAt, the 14th of ThAt, which is December 26th. Talking about, it says, in Asia, tens of thousands drowned in a tsunami. And you look at the code and the repetitive pattern. And again, there's no way the Bible could know this. Katrina, the word New Orleans, the words, the date, wrath of anger, and actually the word Katrina all appear in the same repetitive pattern. When you look at, there's another one here about the Holocaust. the words Berlin, Nazi, Hitler, evil, and his city all appear again within certain lines in certain repetitive patterns. So if you're interested in something like this and you really want to be spiritual, like I said, during your remote working, when you're not actually working, which is probably most of the time, this is something you could busy yourself with that's actually really, really interesting.
You are going to offend a lot of people who work remotely
So what else is new?
and who work very hard. John, I'm telling you, I have a girlfriend who starts at 6 a.m. until 8. Sometimes she's still working.
Yeah.
Look, and I always tell her the company could never pay you for the work that you do.
That's
But you know,
an exception
John,
to every rule.
Your perception on a lot of things are a reflection of who you are and what you would do. I'm sorry.
That's like I just got smacked by a stick.
It's true.
But that's not true.
Because
I'm a worker.
Because the way your mind, well, listen, the nature of your job is you have to be at it all the time.
No, I could work
And I'm
remotely.
not, I know, but you have to be sitting in front of a computer.
Oh, yeah. Well, for the nature of my, yes, that's
Your
correct.
job is very, requires a lot of attention from you.
Correct.
But other people do different jobs and they work very, very hard. They don't have to be glued to a computer like you have to be, but they do great work. And I'm telling you, companies realized that they do actually get more from their employees.
Then why are they all trying to get the employees back to the office?
Because there's another side, like the economy was hurt.
Well, the companies don't care about the economy. The companies care, a business cares about itself for the most part, and its profitability and its shareholders. So why are these companies trying to get people back to the office?
Because there's some elements of working from home that are missing, like the camaraderie, like people interacting with each other, like hold on, I think I listed a few of them. Finding a reliable Wi-Fi for some people is a problem.
What are we living in 1980? What do you mean problem finding Wi-Fi?
Some people have Wi-Fi issues because of where they live. They live somewhere up in the mountains. I know.
So get your ass into an office.
They couldn't. There was no office to go to because the government or whomever said you couldn't come to the office.
The government didn't say to anybody you can't come to the office unless it was a government office.
Whoever decided that they shouldn't go, I think things like dealing with cultural differences, technical problems, these were some of the issues that people experienced while they worked at home. But I think you can argue for both, working from home and working.
Do you believe Elon Musk is a smart guy?
I don't know Elon Musk.
Okay, he founded PayPal. He founded Tesla. He founded the Boring Company.
Can I tell you
He founded SpaceX. He's working on AI right now. He just took over Twitter. Let's agree that Elon Musk is maybe relatively intelligent.
God,
Okay.
yes.
Elon Musk has demanded that his employees come back to the office and come to work because he's not a believer in remote work.
Okay. So that's Elon Musk. Okay, let me tell you.
I'm taking one of the smartest people in the world, and I'm evaluating his opinion, and his opinion is working from home is a crock of shit, essentially. Excuse my language.
So can I tell you something about him?
Sure.
When he was producing the first Tesla, he got a group of engineers, some of the best in the Silicon Valley, and he got them to quit their jobs and to go work for him.
Yes.
And he made them certain promises, and they contacted me, right?
I'm not talking about his ethics. I'm talking about his intelligence.
Yes, I understand this, but what I'm trying to tell you is he is intelligent,
Brilliant,
and he's made some good business decisions.
Genius.
But he hasn't done them independently. He works a lot with other people.
Everybody
just
does.
so you know, right?
Okay.
And he's made some shitty decisions too.
He's the richest man in the world. The shitty decisions were outweighed by the good ones. See, that's the thing about life. You can make some bad decisions. Let's say financially, talking about financial. You can make a ton of bad financial decisions. All you need to do is make the one right one that makes up for all the bad ones. So it's almost like a game of odds.
Well, you could have been Elon Musk because since we've started this podcast, you've named so many brilliant ideas of ways where you could have been competing with Elon. But guess what?
I haven't done any of them.
You don't have the balls to do any of them. You just come here and bark about it. But you don't have what it takes to do it.
I told you I don't have time between preparing for this podcast.
Excuse.
Between arguing with you, preparing for the podcast, doing the podcast, what other time is left in the day?
You lack the balls to start anything. Period. because I do all those things you said.
Stop waving your finger in my
I
face.
started a business. I started many things, and that's because.
How's that business going?
What?
How's that business going?
That's a low blow coming from someone who
Because you're being mean. Because you're being mean.
At least I had something to liquidate. What have you got?
At least I had something
What
to
have you
liquidate.
got?
Well, thank God you had something to liquidate. Oh,
didn't-
thank God. I was able to liquidate. Oh, it's amazing. Like a company goes bankrupt. Oh, I was able to sell my company in bankruptcy. It was great. What does
I
that
did.
mean?
It wasn't liquidated because I didn't work hard enough and because something was wrong
I'm
with
just
my
joking.
vision.
Just joking. I was joking. I don't.
Sometimes when you
I'm annoyed you don't have that business because I wanted a photo facial.
I could tell you where to get one. But the
I go to my
point
cousin for
is-
that. Plastic surgery and dermatology of NYC. Yeah.
The point that I'm making is Elon Musk is a brilliant man, and all the brilliant minds in the world, I applaud them. But there's so much Elon Musk in so many of us, but we don't have the balls to do anything about our ideas.
He's in a category by himself. He's a whole different.
Well, he himself admitted that he has Asperger's,
Oh yeah, he does.
and people with those
Condition.
conditions, because I don't want to say.
Did you see him on
this,
hosting Saturday Night Live? It
Yes.
was so obvious he had Asperger's. Yeah.
But I thought he was putting on an act.
No. He's very like awkward in a lot of ways, but the guy, I mean, I don't think this country.
Those types of people.
He's the Thomas Edison of our time. People don't appreciate that this is an American icon and an American treasure, and he should be treated that way.
People don't appreciate you.
Because Biden spits on him. But you know, Biden, this moron. Biden, this senile moron. He's talking about electric vehicles and convenes a conference at the White House about EVs. And he invites all the heads of the EVs except Elon Musk. What is that? That's because Elon Musk is more conservative and all these others are lefties. So he had all the lefties there and left out the most prominent and most intelligent of them all.
How do you know he didn't invite him and he just
Because Musk said I wasn't even included in this. I wasn't invited. Those are his words. You can Google that if you want. He was stunned by it. I think he was quite offended by it, actually. So yeah, politics comes into a lot of play. Let's get back to remote work before we get shut down over here. So you did make some other points in your notes that I was reading. You know, one of the people that suffered terribly in New York, I'm sure from actually around the country during the pandemic and this remote working thing, mass transit. The MTA in New York City got demolished. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority train system ridership was down at one point during the pandemic, was down 90%. 90. That means, do you know what 90% means?
No, I don't.
It means
I don't, John. I don't.
Instead of 10 people drive. Okay, never mind. You know, when I say down 90%, you mean it's down a lot. Let me put it in simple terms that you can understand. It's down a lot.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, good.
I can tell you that it was better for the environment because I remember driving in San Francisco one morning in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, and it was so clear and so beautiful. I'd never seen it like that. And so you could see the difference because there weren't as many people on the road.
Yeah.
And you're so.
No, I'm listening to you. I was going to add something to that, but go ahead, finish up.
I'm finished.
No, you're not finished. So you thought that it was nice for the environment that all the restaurants and retailers and other businesses that were reliant on these workers coming into town, they were all going out of business because there were no workers. But thank God the environment was doing a little better. Right. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Are you napping?
No, I'm listening to you.
You just closed your eyes like you're napping. So I think that the bottom line for me is the cons far outweigh the pros. And I think, oh my God, all the surrounding businesses, the transportation system, all these businesses suffered terribly. And I think the country and the economy suffered terribly during this remote work thing. And people are.
You know what else suffered terribly?
What?
Families. A lot of husbands realized they didn't know who their wives were. A lot of wives realized they didn't even like their husbands. I mean,
it's good. It was like a cleansing process. Maybe that was good.
You know, and
also a lot of babies being born because the husband and wife are home together a lot more.
Yeah. So, I mean, this topic is pros and cons of working at home, but I have to say that the pandemic really sort of purged, cleansed, and brought people together. And
it was like taking a good crap. like cleaning out everything. Is that what you meant to say? If I could put it in gutter terms, being that I'm from the gutter?
Sean,
You're too
it
classy
just
for that.
so happens that we are out of time, but since you like to speak and you have so much to say, I will let you make the final contribution to this 12th segment.
Okay, so my final contribution is I think when all is said and done, we realize that I'm right, you're wrong. Cons outweigh the pros. Remote work is a crock of shit, and everyone please get back to the office. Is that a fair statement?
That's the first thing.
Thank you so much. I love victories. Sweet.
I know, John, you love to win. And so we are grateful to you for listening to us on our 12th as we discuss the pros and cons of working from home. And we'd love to hear from you.
No, we don't want to hear from anyone.
Have something you want to add to this, or if you disagree with anything that was discussed here tonight. And again, we thank you for continuing to listen to
How can you say that?
The podcast where we are raw and authentic. Again, we thank you for listening, and we can't wait to do the 13th segment.
And that's going to be my topic. I get to choose that one. You pick the last two.
Topic. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. We'll see you next time.